What is up, everybody? It's your boy Drew Regards up in the building, and today I'm joined by Mr. David Wise and Max Mooney. That's right, folks. We have a full house today. Dave, this is your theme for today's episode. Why don't you take it over real quick and tell the folks what we are talking about today?
Yes, we have a thought exercise 2-3 months in the making now. We are going to run through the Florida State schedule and the ACC and play a game of Would You Rather? Would you rather have Mike Norvell as our head coach or that coach?
And folks, as always, thank you guys so much for being Locked On Seminoles, your first listen each and every single day, Monday through Friday. With that being said, we won't hold you guys back any further. Let's go on with the show.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Locked On Seminoles. As at the top of the episode, it's your boy Drake, and I got Dave to my left, Max right below me. Before we get into today's episode, as always, thank you guys so much for the love and support and making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every single day, and also for helping us hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube. And before we, dive into the meat and bones for today, Dave, Max, how you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Max, I don't know about you, and I hate doing this plug right now. The Built birthday cake puff bars are legit. Actually made my day today.
So I admittedly have not changed my address yet in the software, so I haven't gotten them yet, but I look forward to it. But built.com is my address, so it's fine. Dude, I'm good. I guess I have a lot of bugs outside. I'm finding out that's kind of the downside of living in the woods. It's beautiful, but I got eaten alive today.
Nice.
So, yeah,
that's what happens when you move from the sunny South Florida or sunny Florida area and you go up to the swamps of, Smyrna, Marietta you're living at now?
Marietta, yeah. So I think we're we're the foothills, right? Like we're the foothills of the Appalachians or something.
You're that awkward boundary between the two. But as always, Dave, Max, we do not do geography here or anything like that.
Or weather.
Or even food, even though the food podcast is coming very, very shortly.
Yes.
Ask Dave about that. But we're here to talk about the newly released CBS Sports head coaching rankings. And I think Max has already seen them. Dave, did you see where Mike Norvell's ranked at?
I did not. And it's better, I think, for content purposes if I don't.
So I'll tell you right now before we get started, he is actually ranked 47th overall out of
in the ACC.
No. Yes, at the ACC.
Oh, that sounds right.
Good one, Dave. But no, he's ranked 47th out of all Power 5 head coaches, which there are 65 of them. He is the only new debuting head coach that's in front of him right now is actually Brent Venables, I think, in number 38. But Dave, why don't you explain today to folks that this is kind of your baby, your theme? Like, tell us what we're actually about to do right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously a lot of very opinionated folks on Twitter, how they feel about Mike Norvell, and it seems like it just becomes more polarized and more Sith-like by the day, with everybody's opinion being so absolute, which is something I'm familiar with. So my exercise was thinking about the ACC, like how many of the coaches in this conference would we actually rather have? Because, like, in the abstract, you think, wow, things are not going well. Like, there's got to be more than half the ACC coaches that would be doing a better job. But it's funny when you go through them, maybe it's not so easy.
I think it's like that old saying, Dave, where they say you should look for a job you want, not try to get away from a job you don't want, right? Like, it's easy to say, I hate my job, but then it's like, well, what job would you apply for then? Well, I don't know. I just don't like my job. So I think is that kind of what we're getting at today?
Yeah, I think that's right.
We're going to see how we really feel about Mike Norvell?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think we'll the way we kind of have everything set up right now, we'll do the schedule first, like go through that, and then we'll do the remaining ACC head coaches towards the latter half of the episode. So basically, it's going to be a full discussion on here today. So let's start off with Duquesne. I also don't care about their head coach.
Who's their head coach? If you know this on Twitter,
Duchovny.
It actually could be. Yeah, could be anyone.
I'm wondering if this is going to go one of two ways before I look, because it's an FCS coach. Either he's going to have a really interesting resume that's like, oh, maybe this guy's like working his way up.
It's like Terrell Owens.
Like 80. Okay, it's Jerry Schmidt. What a Pittsburgh name.
Yeah.
This guy is just
wait, how's it spelled?
Pittsburgh.
Is it two T's? Is there a D in there? How's
two T's, no D, just SCHMITT. Wow. He's from Pennsylvania. Went to West Allegheny High School, which is that where?
I think that's where Wheeler went, didn't he?
Is that where Wheeler went? So Allegheny County, I'm pretty sure is like Pittsburgh.
We're spending
area.
way too much time on Duquesne.
I mean, we're going to spend less time on some of these other ones. So I'm just really curious. The Rock didn't go to Allegheny, did no? Anyway, okay. So Jerry, so yeah, this guy is a journeyman. We don't really want him. He's been at Duquesne since 2005, and his head coaching record's 137 and 93. But probably leave him at the FCS level for now.
Yeah, we can't be complaining about having a group of 5 head coach and then going after, the cream of the crop in the FCS. So let's go down over to Bayou Brian down there in Baton Rouge and Brian Kelly with LSU. So, Max, you start off with this one. Would you take him or would you keep Norvell? Actually, where you at right now? Because I feel you're going to go with the latter.
And this is like a binary choice, right?
Yes.
Like this is,
yes, we're not doing, there's no
yeah, that's what I thought. I'm just checking. I would keep Mike Norvell because I think we saw with Brian Kelly when he moved to LSU, I think there are more young coaches where if he's guaranteed the time will want to coach under Mike Norvell than coaches that want to coach under Brian Kelly. I question his ability to build out a staff.
Yeah, that's a fair critique. Here's my thing. I think Brian Kelly's a total weirdo. I think to a large degree he's fraudulent in the same way that Dabo Swinney is, where he's just a pander to whatever needs to be said or done at any given time. I don't like that about him. I don't like him as a person. He's probably a terrible dude. I'll go on record saying that. That being said, you know what we need here right now?
Terrible dudes.
Not just terrible dudes, but fans who just feel like they have a reason to get excited. And Brian Kelly, for better or worse, he never got Notre Dame to the real mountaintop. He got them close, but he got their fans excited. And that's something we haven't felt here for a while. He's done it at a top program. I mean, I got to take that over a former G5 coach who hasn't won a bowl game here.
And not only that, he took Cincinnati his last year to a 12-0 record, and they were ranked number 4 actually at the end of the BCS era for them. So that's something that shows to me that he basically, you can give him anything, and he definitely is able to cultivate a sort of a culture, a winning culture with that. And with Notre Dame, I mean, they were kind of an afterthought. I mean, that was after the Charlie Weiss era. I think back in 2010 was his first year. And then he went to the CFP not once, but twice. And not many head coaches right now out there can say that. So for me, I would probably take Brian Kelly. But what's up?
Sort of 3, right? He took him to the BCS championship in 12.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that is right. So he's got that championship pedigree. So for me, it's a yes. Let's go to the next one.
This is Max's.
But let's go over to the next one where I think this is, I'm going to have Dave go first. I want Max to prepare his argument for his boy. We play Louisville in week 3.
Yeah, I can't wait for your opinion on this too, Max, because you've had to step off the Scott Satterfield ledge quite a bit the last couple of years. But it's funny because if you look just at his coaching record, do you take Appalachian State into account? Like, because we're taking Memphis into account for Mike, because if you do, Satterfield's a 65-35 coach. That's a pretty damn good record, a 650 win percentage. At Louisville, he's gone 8-5, 4-7, and 6-7. With having Malik Cunningham there the last couple of years, that's probably not good enough to cut it. The defense has never been good there under him. I'm not taking him over Mike Norvell just because he hasn't done it either at Louisville. And if they're even close, I'm just going to stick with what we got.
I mean, here's the thing, right? He never had one of those breakthrough seasons at App State. I mean, you look at his records and it was 7-5, 11-2, 10-3, 9-4, 10-2. Obviously, we'd love to have a 2-loss season, but at the group of 5, you're held to a different standard for me to extrapolate that out because it is the group of 5. And I think, in fact, he got a little more credit than he should have because he was an App State guy. He was there when they beat Michigan, all that. But I would not take Scott Satterfield, especially after the way he bungled that South Carolina interviewing for the. Do y'all remember that whole thing? Where he basically just said, "Oh yeah, I'm interviewing for the job," like an idiot. That would not fly with our boosters. And here's the thing: I want to save our boosters from themselves, and that's the kind of guy that gets fired after 12 games, and we're in the hole for another 30 mil. So keep Mike.
Yeah, I'm not going any further. I think I've made my opinion on Scott Satterfield very clear on here for the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So it's going to be a no for me, dog. And then the last one before we go to break, let's go over to Jeff Hafley at Boston College, who basically, I would say yes. He's someone that actually probably I was a huge fan of when he did get hired, actually originally with Boston College, because he was a great defensive coordinator. I'm a little more, I guess, partial to, or biased for defensive coordinators becoming full-time head coaches. And also BC was in a bad spot. I mean, they had AJ Dillon, but who else did they have? Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown transferred out to Oregon and wasn't basically a good player at all, period. And he's been able to have Phil Jurkovec. Actually, he was able to convince him to transfer over to BC from Notre Dame. And Phil Jurkovec is a top 5 quarterback in this conference. So for me, Jeff, he's basically having them probably play a lot higher, probably play a lot better than most expectations that people have on them. So for me, Jeff Hafley is definitely going to be a yes for me because I don't think he's even going to be at BC much longer anyway. So
you think he's probably squeezing the most out of the minimal talent he has there? That's great. My concern about getting him here would actually be the same as Norvell, which is what would be the recruiting pitch under Jeff Hafley? I just don't know. And because of that, it's one of those where it's close to me, probably. I still think I have Norvell a little higher than I would Hafley. Actually, a lot higher because Hafley has 2 years of coaching experience under his belt. I just don't know what the pitch would be. I don't know how you sell excitement to boosters or recruits, and that's a no for me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think the only thing that outweighs Drake's like inflation of who Phil Jurkovec is that inflation of a head coach who's 12-11. I've never heard kinder words said about someone that has no proven record of being any good at his job. I mean, again, Phil Jurkovec, average QB, 58% completion his best year. Other than the fact he's tall and handsome. And yeah, my other thing is where he's coached before. He's coached in the NFL for looks like 6 years, 1 year at Ohio State as a co-DC. Before that, before his NFL stint, Rutgers, Pitt, Albany, actually. He's never seen what good recruiting looks like, to Dave's point. So it's not just that he's never done it. He's never even seen it in action. So in his mind, he just kind of knows in theory what good recruiting might sort of look like. We don't have time for that.
Yep.
I will say that he was ranked the 9th overall recruiter by 24/7 Sports for the 2020 season, that for Ohio State. I'm just saying he has it there. And also he was the defensive back recruiter for Duron Harmon and Logan Ryan at Rutgers and Pittsburgh, respectively. So he does know what good defensive backs look like. And also he's kind of revitalized Jaden Woodby's career because when he left here, we did not think it was going to be pretty much of anything for that. But before that, let's actually go over to one of our sponsors. Max, you were the big Built Bar guy, right?
Everyone's a big Built Bar guy.
What's your favorite flavor?
Dude, I'm a peanut butter brownie guy. All day, every day. I don't change. I've been eating chicken and rice since I was 10. And, you know,
I do change birthday cake puff. I changed.
I'm about to say, have you had the puffs? Because right now,
no, I told you I haven't updated my address.
Any of the puffs?
No, you need to get on these puffs, Max. It's basically, just imagine taking your finger and just going right into like a tub of birthday cake frosting. And that is what a birthday cake puff it just tastes like. And also, you know what they have now? I just bought some. They have the brownie butter puffs, which is basically just like, it just tastes like you're eating a delicious and fresh out the oven brownie. But folks, don't take my word for it. Head over to built.com right now and use promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15, and you get a 15% welcome bonus off of your order. But you can promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15. Built Bar, folks. Let's get healthy together. All right, so let's go with the next one. And I think this is befitting if Dave also goes first in this one. And then Max, I think you'll take the next two. I think that basically if we even out the order. Wake Forest, since Dave is the biggest closet Wake Forest fan that we know of, he's basically had a timeshare on Snuggy Hill. Dave, this is basically Dave Clawson's team for the past, I want to say, 10 years. He's their winningest head coach, too.
Yep.
Has led them to an ACC championship game. So I want to ask you, with Wake Forest, where would you put him with Mike Norvell?
That is one of the easier answers to me. That is a super easy yes to me. I'm making that trade in a heartbeat.
Wait,
and
seriously?
Yes, I'm serious. And I say that as somebody who thinks it's the most adorable thing in the world that anybody considers Wake Forest to be good. But it's the fact of that. Just the fact that he has a better than 500 record in 8 seasons at Wake Forest with all 14 students there, and all of them must play football. The fact that he's done that at a school like that, which still has to compete in the ACC, like, you know, even when it's down, like they still have to play Florida State every year. They still play Clemson. They're still playing ACC teams, and he's gotten them to a better than 500 record. That to me means he is really, really squeezing the milk out of that almond, right, Max?
Yeah. Do y'all know how many kids go to the University of Memphis?
12,000.
21,000 kids go to Memphis. Memphis has 4 times the student body that Wake Forest has.
Oh my God.
And we give a guy credit for winning a lot of games there over like 2 years, really, like 2 good years.
Yeah.
With those resources. And by the way, Memphis, as we've mentioned, they got in some trouble, but they were used to being a sports school. They had a really good basketball team for a long time. So the resources were there. You talk about 21,000 kids, and we're giving him credit for like 1, 2, 10-win seasons. Look at what Dave Clawson's done at a school that is smaller than a lot of high schools in Texas and Florida. So if Dave Clawson wanted to take a swing at it, I don't think I'd do it now. But like, had we brought him in when we brought in Willie, like we already had talent in the hopper and we didn't need to rebuild. Now, would I trade him now? His age would concern me. So,
is he that old? Is he like? I thought he was only like 54.
I thought he was like 65.
No, he's 54. He's really young, actually, for a head coach.
Oh, then yeah, 100%.
He looks like
Sorry,
Mark
I thought he was
Richt,
like
actually.
65.
He just looks older.
Yeah, 100%. Dave Clawson could be my coach tomorrow.
I thought I was going to be
55.
alone on this, honestly. That's actually because it's a yes for me for all the reasons Dave and Max have basically said, because he's made a lot basically out of nothing. Or as Dave just said, he squeezed a lot of milk out of a very, very small, very, very low-funded almond. So let's go from one Dave to the next, and to the next Dave, because I just used Dave's name 3 times.
Yeah.
Max, NC State, Dave Doeren. Dave Doeren has been there since 2013. His overall record there is 64-49. Would you take a stab at Dave Doeren? Would you take him over Mike Norvell?
Dave Doeren, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, the guy looks like, he kind of looks like Andre the Giant a little bit from from Princess Bride. He's just got kind of that oafish look about him.
So he just looks like Andre the Giant? Because I'm pretty sure that's how he looked every damn day.
Yeah, but they gave him the bowl cut, and they made him look even more oafish.
That's a fair point.
I do like his pedigree, though. Comes from the Midwest. I mean, he's from California, but, coached at Kansas, coached at Wisconsin, Northern Illinois. But I think we should leave him where we left him at the end of the 2012 Orange Bowl, just by himself, off in a place no one really wants to be, coaching NC State. So, no, should I? Maybe, but NC State's one of those schools I don't know if I could get over him having coached at. Like, it would be like hiring what's his name? We always talk about Will Muschamp at DC, and it's like we probably could do it, but it would feel icky. I don't know.
Honestly, I would be fine with that. But Dave?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on
So
Dave?
you hit on it at the end there. You hit it on the head. I hate NC State and their fans. I don't like any of them, not one. And that I just couldn't accept that. In addition to the fact that, I mean, he hasn't exactly like excelled at NC State. Not that it's the kind of school where you would expect someone to be capable of doing that. But if anything, I think at best it's a close call between him and Mike. And again, if it's a close call, I'm just not going to pull the trigger. Like, there has to be something setting them apart, and there's just nothing special about Dave Doeren.
I mean,
Right,
there really isn't. Because
this isn't a who's better, right? It's a would you rat? Like, would we actually make bring him to Tallahassee and put him in Garnet and Gold?
Yeah,
Like,
no.
all the ramifications that come with making a coaching change, except for money, right? So yeah, I'm
exactly.
with that.
And I think we've seen overall, like with his career actually at NC State, he'll never win 10 games. I think he's reached a 9-win plateau 3 times in his 10 years there. And with Mike, we can at least see with maybe 1, maybe 2 more years if he can attempt to reach that. So I will honestly go more with potential here, actually with Mike over Dave Doeren. Now this is gonna be an easy one. This will be really, really damn quick, depending on how you feel. Max, again, you have first in the tee box. Do you trade in Mike Norvell for Dopey Dabo down over there in Clemson, South Carolina?
Is Brent Venables going to come with him or stay at Oklahoma?
I think he'll be sticking around in Norman.
Yep.
No, we can lose 5 games a year for half the price with Mike Norvell, to be honest. So
Wow.
Dabo would want $10 million a year. He would make us hire the most expensive assistants out there, and then they would leave him and we would collapse again. So he's lucky that Brent Venables, like if he got Brent Venables at any other age, other than when Venables' kids were going into high school and then going to come play at Clemson, Venables would have left after 2 or 3 years and they never would have had the run they had. So there's not another Brent Venables out there, and therefore I have no interest in a Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time to ask this question, because if you look back in 3 to 5 years about what happened to Dabo once Venables left, I feel like the feeling on him is going to change pretty drastically. That said, where we are right now going into this season, Dabo Swinney hasn't won single-digit games since 2010. He has 21 losses in 11 years, in the last 11 years. That's insanity. That's the kind of hype you can sell. So yes, he makes us hire expensive coaches. Good. Make us spend money. That's exactly what I want, actually. So yes, there's something I could sell to the fan base, which is look what he's done. There's something we can sell to recruits, which is look what he's done. Yeah, that's the kind of hope we need right now. Make that trade.
I'm actually probably here with the way Dave was with Brian Kelly when we first started. I mean, he has all this resume. He's got a very extensive, accolades like Dave was discussing. Basically, he hasn't lost more than 2 games since 2010, which is, when you told me that before the show started, that's insane. But I just don't like that. This is personally, I just don't like Dabo. I just don't. And I'm with Max, where basically when Jeff Scott left for the USF job, you saw the offense sort of start to struggle. He took the play calling duties from Tony Elliott, and now Tony Elliott is gone over at UVA, so we'll see how the offense runs with him. And then Brent Venables saved his ass. People forget that Kevin Steele was there, and Dabo was almost fired in year 3. So I don't trust him to make the good decisions. And also, right now we rely on the transfer portal. Clemson does not take any transfer kids unless they were formerly enrolled at Clemson. So it's going to be a no, and I just hope that man just he might be exposed in the next few years for just being not a very good head coach and just got lucky at the right time.
That's the other thing, Drake, and that's such an important thing when you talk about Dabo is 2 things. One, if he is successful at Florida State, we're going to go through this all over again where he leaves us for Alabama, just like Jimbo did. But I don't think that would happen because Dabo has shown an utter lack of willingness to develop with time and develop as the game's developed, right? Like Saban has gone from running an I formation to, running a spread offense with running quarterbacks. And like Dabo, if he's not putting his foot in his mouth about something, he's refusing to adapt. And it's like, we don't need that. Come on.
We don't need that, and we don't need the man to leave in the middle of the night. And you know who won't leave you in the middle of the night? The family and friends and the services over at rockauto.com. Max, when was the last time you actually used them for your car?
It's been about a year now, but it was great when I used them. And if I have the need, I will be using them again. Finding car parts is a pain in the ass. It really is. I had like a super old Jeep before my other old Jeep, and ordering car parts online is a nightmare. Buying them in the store is tough because you have to act like you know exactly what you're talking about when you don't. Like you can't ask questions. Your pride won't let you. So it's good. It's great. You have an interface where it's like, you can kind of ask the dumb questions. It can walk you through it step by step. And you're not like, Googling serial numbers, hoping you find the part on some sketchy website.
And not only that, they don't charge you 30%, 50%, even 100% more than typically stuff you find at a chain store car dealership overall. Because, I've talked about it before. I spill coffee in my car all the damn time. I had my car thing reupholstered several times, but thankfully Rock Auto has always been there for me. RockAuto.com, head on over there today. And when you actually purchase your final parts, right, Locked On in their How'd You Hear About section so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
I think we could save everybody a lot of time here. Probably nobody knows or cares who Louisiana's new coach is. No one's taking him. No one's taking Dino Babers. I will point out one thing about Jeff Collins, besides the fact that he's about to be fired any day now, is that he is he's never lost a bowl game, and Mike Norvell's never won one. Fun facts there. Yeah, but nobody's taking him.
Well, admittedly, Mike Norvell hasn't lost a bowl game at Florida State either.
He's 0-4 career, and Jeff Collins is 1-0. It's crazy.
That brings me to when we recorded the first podcast that we'd never dropped, Dave, and you were like, "Did you guys know that Mike Norvell's never won a bowl game?" And I'm just like, it's starting to kind of make sense why he's never won a bowl game. But yeah, Jeff Collins might get fired probably during the bye week, actually, before we play them, because that place is a dumpster fire. But let's go talk more to the teams that we probably do care about. So we'll push aside Syracuse, push aside Louisiana.
Yep.
Let's start with the University of Coral Gables first at the Airbnb at Hard Rock Stadium with their 50-yard IPF or indoor practice facility.
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah. So look, for purposes of intellectual consistency, the whole Brian Kelly thing that I said, the whole Dabo Swinney thing about selling like just pomp and circumstance to boosters about, oh, look, this is exciting. Look who we got, this big name hire. Mario Cristobal, for those who don't know, is not actually a very good head coach. He has a career record as a head coach of 62-60. He has a career record at Oregon of 35-13. Like, that's okay in the fakest Power 5 conference there is, but I don't think he is anything besides a big name in form, but not in substance, who has a very high price tag, and that is not what I want to trade for.
He's the perfect coach for Miami. I mean, Mario Cristobal is the Maserati of college football coaches, right? It's like Maserati from Italy, but not even close to the nicest Italian car, right? Ferrari, Lamborghini, like that's USC. That's like probably Washington or Utah. He's at Oregon. Washington's been down a bit, but he's at Oregon. They're just getting their teeth kicked in, and like they'll have these good years, but they don't, when they're the best, they're not the brand that USC is, even if they only win 5 games. And a lot of years, they're not as good as the other schools like Utah, and they're not even the Alfa Romero where they're the best budget like item. That would be the Mike Leach. So it's a Maserati. It's a car for a massive price tag. And of course, people in Miami are just lining up to drop all their money so they can say, oh, look, I've got a Maserati. And anyone that knows anything about cars is laughing at them for spending that much money on that piece of crap. Can it go kind of fast? Sure. But you spent $150,000 on it and you look like an idiot. He's not worth $8 million. Let's put the salary off the table. Would I bring him here?
Yeah.
I mean, the only smart thing he's done is like he didn't come with Willie Taggart, which was a real heady play on his part.
Yeah.
He did beat Ohio State this past year.
He's won the Pac-12 twice, which I know
that's not saying much.
It's not saying much, but it's still winning a Power 5 conference overall.
True. I also did win the Meridian Park Little League Championship in 2004, I think. So that was exciting.
Start on the resume.
No, but so as a head coach, yeah, I think I would if that $8 million price tag wasn't there. But at $8 million, he is the Maserati of head coaches.
I would say the price tag is kind of a leery thing for me, but I do think overall that he's got a better resume than Mike when it comes to at the Power 5 level. He has won a major conference overall. Yeah. Also, his recruiting is a damn good thing, and he's from that Saban tree where you want to have a lot of your coaches that basically the man's a hard person to work with because he's a relentless grinder and works day in and day out, and that's something you kind of want right now, especially being with Dave. What do you complain about each and every single day in the group chat before the Travis Hunter debacle? Why recruiting doesn't matter that much? How recruiting has been kind of languishing a little bit.
Yes, that thing.
And this is someone that actually thinks that it looks as the pure lifeblood of the program. And I want to win games now, and a lot of people do. So, like, if we're just doing based on head coaching stuff, I'll take him. I do think $8 million is a lot. But right now, if we take the buyout for Taggart, also with Mike Norvell's salary, it's 7.5. So you're basically only trading him for an extra $500K increase.
Yeah, I still wouldn't go. I mean, I understand that logic, but just I might take him at Mike's salary. My issue with him is we've got to see how he recruits Miami, because we saw this with Diaz, right? Like, people with a lot of money in Miami think they know Miami, but they really don't. Like, Diaz was a Miami Country Day kid, or maybe he was a Belen Jesuit guy.
Country Day.
Yeah, Country Day. Mario Cristobal, he's a Christopher Columbus guy. Like, that's not real Miami. Like, I'm interested to see if he's able to relate to these kids that come from Miami Northwestern or come from actually in Miami. I mean, I know Christopher Columbus is right by the airport, but they're not living right by the airport, So
no, you mean the Miami Central kids, also the kids, also not only in the Miami area, but you want the kids over in Immokalee. You want basically that entire
you gotta go to
corridor down there. You need to do that. Where, I mean, he's played with a lot of them, and he played also for that school for a very long time. So that's kind of more. He has the connections there, and a lot of the people that run the schools there and also run the programs there. We discussed this a few days ago with the 7-on-7s, like, he knows them. So it's like he's got that already. Where we've been, like Dave discussed earlier, the Florida ties with his recruiting staff were pretty poor when we started here.
Yeah, he's probably the best of he's probably the best of the big three coaches right now. But it's close to me, and the money makes it a total no for me. But aside from that, I don't trust it. I don't trust a guy who's 2 games over 500 for his career.
That's fair.
Yeah, I still think
FIU kind of sucks, but yeah.
Yeah. Was he the head coach at FAU and they beat Miami though?
That would be ironic, but
No, that was Butch Davis, former Miami head coach.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And those kids became champions at life. But yeah. And look, here's the other thing too. Who is it even that they've tried to sell us on Mike Norvell? Like, if we're being critical for a second, whose tree is he a part of? It's someone that doesn't matter at all. It's not even the Harbaughs. It's like who Willie was a part of. It's
Jack Harbaugh.
Is that who Mike Norvell was? I thought that was Willie.
No, Mike Norvell's Todd Graham.
Todd Graham. That's what. Yeah, someone that just doesn't matter. I mean, this guy's coached at Alabama, and like, there's just something about seeing from the inside how the top of the top organizations ran, and yeah, he's seen it. So, final verdict, I would begrudgingly let Cristobal come be our coach.
And Dave, still no from you, my dog?
Still a no for me.
Still a no from you. And then with that one, let's go with the last one. Let's go to the Sun Belt version of Mike Norvell over in Gainesville, and that's Billy Napier.
Don't trust a grown man that still ends his name in a Y. You're a grown man. Go by Bill. Go by William. Grow up.
Yeah, even if that was all the analysis, that's fair. There is nothing about Billy Napier that should have anybody excited in Gainesville. What should be the first concerning thing to you in Gainesville is that a guy came over from the University of Louisiana, not Louisiana State, and then brought a bunch of players with him, as if that was a good thing, as if those are the players that the University of Florida should be getting. Spoiler alert, they're not. They should be able to recruit better than that. They can recruit better than that. They hired a guy who has never coached a Power 5 game. He's never been a head coach of a Power 5 team before. That's a problem for me with Mike. And if that's the case, and all else, just a bunch of question marks surrounding still Mike and a bunch surrounding Billy Napier, I still have Mike ahead of Billy Napier, which means I'm definitely choosing Mike. But even if it was even, again, if it's close, I'm not taking the other guy, especially Billy Napier.
Yeah, they're the same person to me. I'm in the camp that if you're not a big fan of Mike Norvell, you're not going to like Bill Napier that much. And also, if you're the inverse, if you like Mike Norvell a lot, you're probably like Bill Napier too, basically. I mean, they're almost verbatim the same person. I'm also pretty sure that when Mike Norvell left Arizona State, Billy Napier replaced him as the OC actually at Arizona State. That's how copacetic that they are. So to me, I would lean Mike more because I mean, with Billy Napier, just basically how the recruiting to me is odd. It's weird. It's not even know if they're being selective. It's just they're being extremely, I guess, confusing with selections. Also, you're telling certain coaches to leave when you probably were the best coaches on your staff. So, I mean, it's a resounding no from me. And I think that actually just about does it for a schedule breakdown with the coaches. Now, Dave, I do want to give you a heads up. Also, Max too as well. Guess who was the highest ranked ACC coach that was not Dabo Swinney?
In
the CBS ranking poll.
Dave Doeren.
Mac Brown.
Dave Clawson at 17 was voted as the second best coach in the ACC and the 17th coach overall in the country in Power 5. And guess who's right behind him, Dave?
Mac Brown.
No. It's our boy.
Scott Satterfield?
No, Lane Kiffin, the Lane trainer, number 18. And that's actually, before we actually head out, do you guys actually want to know a random coach's name on there, or are we good to go?
I just love how they start Lane Kiffin's with ladies and gentlemen, and it's like, you got to
just say ladies.
You got to read the word ladies first with Lane Kiffin.
Right.
I mean, these rankings are an absolute joke show. It's number 1, Alabama. Number 2, Kirby Smart. Number 3, Dabo Swinney. Number 4, Lincoln Riley. Like, okay, cool. Number 5, Jimbo Fisher. So I actually listened to the Cover 3 podcast, and I don't want to say anything mean about Chip Patterson because typically I respect him, but what I respect more than his football knowledge and his just natural ability as a broadcaster is Chip knows what he's doing. He knows how to drive content, and that's all this is. I mean, Jimbo
One of those big game boomer lists. That's what it is.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher's the 5th best coach in the country. Like, I'm sorry. I wish we had Jimbo back to a degree, but
I do.
Who would you put in front of him then?
Dude, almost any of the guys in the top 10 because they don't have his. Well, some of them have his reach. Mike Gundy, definitely. Dave Aranda for sure.
You put Mike Gundy ahead of Jimbo Fisher?
Yeah, because look, Jimbo Fisher got the keys to the Ferrari and he's wrecked it 6 times. They've only been scrapes, but he keeps losing 3 and 4 games with more money than God could spend. And it's like, at what point are we like, man, like maybe he just doesn't have the touch anymore. Like it's just.
But then we also saw Mike Gundy basically screw up the Big 12 championship game this past season when they actually had it in the damn bag. They were one snap away from going to the CFP for the first time. And also Jimbo has the national championship too to back it up. The rest of them you're naming don't have it.
I don't care what someone did 10 years ago. I've seen a lot of guys, make a lot of money and then end up in federal prison. I mean, it's great, good for him, but Mike Gundy also got Oklahoma State within striking distance of the college football playoff multiple times. Again, Jimbo, like we've given him everything. He's driving for Red Bull right now in F1, and he's still losing 3, 4, 5 games a year. And it's like, I don't know, man. Just what else could you need at that school to win a football championship, and you still can't pull it off? Like, it's just
let me put a little bow on this for you. The names that we're discussing right now are really easy for. All of these coaches are better than our current situation. We would take all of them over Mike Norvell. But it's funny when you go through this schedule, it's not so easy as to how many people you would actually take today over Mike Norvell. Like for those that give him so much grief, me and Drake definitely included. There's a lot of people who, when push comes to shove, a lot of coaches in this conference that even if they've had more success recently, you still say to yourself, yeah, but I'm not trading for that.
Yeah, I think the only coach that I think we all unanimously agreed upon was Dave Clawson because of basically what he's done over at Wake Forest. And Dave, you're right. It's really, when you look at overall, we know the situation we're in, but with some of these people, it could be in a lot worse hands right now. But folks, let us know in your comments below which coaches you would trade off with and also basically which coaches that we missed. But with all that being said, don't forget 5-star reviews, either on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast from. And Dave, how do they handle the YouTube comments?
How do they handle the YouTube comments?
Sorry.
Leave us. You're going to want to leave us a comment, first of all. You're going to want to like this video because it's great content, as always. Then leave us a comment. Tell us what we can do better. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't. If it's a good question, we'll put it on the Mailbag Mondays. Turn your notifications on. It'll tell you when this and other episodes drop. And something about it ringing a little bell. I don't remember.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel. We like that when you do that.
And ding the little bell so you know when content drops immediately, and also when we're premiering the new show every single month, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. in the morning. For Drake, that was Max, that was Dave. We'll see y'all next time on Locked On Seminoles. Take care, everybody.
Pat Fitzgerald, number 21, coming in hot.
Feliz Navidad.